Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. If it's your first time here, my name is Jihan and I am a language enthusiast who speaks a few of them to different levels of fluency. So if you're into language learning, please consider subscribing to the channel and giving this video a thumbs up as it greatly helps support my work. If you are into language learning, there might be days when you're completely doubting yourself. You're even doubting the relevance of what you're doing. Why am I even doing this? It's been 2, 3, 4, whatever years and I still cannot see any progress. This might actually especially be the case when it comes to your speaking skills. And if you are learning multiple languages, this might actually have happened more than once. Anything that requires phenomenal discipline, patience, and consistency is bound to make you doubt yourself from time to time. So I think this is totally normal and we just have to remember that it's only a phase and that we'll get past it. This being said, let's dive into today's topic, which is how to improve your speaking skills in a foreign language. Some of you have asked me how soon should somebody expect to be able to speak in a foreign language? And how can you improve your language skills? The first question I cannot answer for the simple reason that I strongly believe we're all different. I strongly believe the only benchmark you should use is the effort you put into it. So do not take me as an example to compare yourself to, or anyone else for that matter. Don't do that ever. It's really bad for your mental health. Even though I cannot tell you how soon you should expect to be able to speak, I can provide a few tips that might help you improve your speaking skills. My first tip is actually to not try to speak. More specifically, do not try to speak as a beginner. And I think it's totally normal to want to speak in a language that you're learning, but do not get ahead of yourself. I once read that before trying to speak in a foreign language, you should have listened to that language for at least 1,000 hours. Man, that's a lot of time. If you have nothing to rely on, how could you possibly be able to speak? This is like children. Before being able to speak, they go through a very long phase when they will only listen. The problem you have when you're only starting out is that you will rely on translating, using your native language as reference. Actually, I personally do not see a big problem when it comes to translating. What? I know that many people say that translating is really bad. I personally do not really see a problem with translating. I actually think that it's quite normal to do it. It's a strategy that your brain will use to enable communication. Obviously, the more you listen to the language, the more vocabulary you learn, the less your brain will resort to that strategy. And the moment you actually realize that your brain does not resort to that strategy, that's when you know you can start speaking. Listen to the language as much as possible, even if you do not understand everything. Actually, especially if you do not understand everything. Look up the vocabulary. Obviously not everything, because you will understand things just by the context, but try to use your listening exercises as a way to acquire as much vocabulary as possible. I would recommend listening to videos and to podcasts as many times as possible, to the point you can almost tell which sentence comes next. The more you do this, the more the natural inflections of the language structure will stick to your memory. Speaking with a native is extremely important. Listening to podcasts is great, but it's not enough. Listening is a passive exercise. You need interactions with a native to be able to conduct a natural conversation. I myself have noticed that despite having acquired a lot of vocabulary, when speaking with a native, there are things that are still surprising to me. You notice the connecting words that natives use in their daily conversations. You also notice the feeling words that we all use in our daily lives and that make you sound more natural. Obviously, you'll get corrected and you will learn a lot of vocabulary that does not make it into the podcasts or the videos, whatever. All this makes the language exchange experience a really valuable one, and I would definitely recommend you try it. but not too soon. This may come across as a little bit strange, but I have noticed that the more I read and write, the easier it becomes to speak. Of course, when you're only starting out, writing your own texts is a little bit difficult. You don't have enough vocabulary, your grammar is not impeccable. So what I would recommend is reading texts and then writing them by hand. I specifically said by hand, so not on a computer, not on a smartphone, on a tablet or whatever. Studies show that writing by hand helps fix knowledge in your memory. Not only does it activate more parts of the brain, but even the texture of the thing you write on will impact your memory and how much you remember. This leads me to my last tip. The articles and the podcast transcripts that you'll have read and copied by hand, I insist, should not go to waste. You should actually use them to up your speaking skills. Of course, speaking is associated with input. The more input you have, the easier it becomes to speak. But it's not only that. It's also about the brain. You must train your mouth muscles, especially if the language you're learning has sound sequences that greatly differ from your native language. For instance, Japanese has a vowel consonant type of sound sequence, which is very different from the sound sequences of the French language, which is my native language. So I would always stutter, and I still do from time to time now. And the only way to get past this stuttering phase and to overcome this difficulty is to leave enough time to your brain to adjust to this new type of sound sequences. When your brain has absorbed this new knowledge, you'll notice that your mouth muscles will be much more flexible, and this will considerably reduce the stuttering. To get rid of this problem, I actually used a lot of songs. So by singing along, first of all, singing really helps retain vocabulary, and it also helps train your mouth muscles. If you do not want to use songs, as I said, use the transcripts and the articles that you have written by hand. I personally recommend to learn the transcripts and the articles by heart. Obviously, when I say learn by heart, I do not mean that you should know the text, every semicolon of it. No, it's more having a good idea of the flow of the text. Not only will this help you remember vocabulary and train your mouth muscles, but it will also help you understand how to structure your own ideas in that language. That's all for today's video. Thank you very much for watching. If you found it a little bit helpful, please consider subscribing to the channel, giving this video a like, and leaving a comment. Please do not hesitate to share your own tips and your struggles so that we can all help each other. Before wrapping up, a very important thing to remember is that you should not put too much pressure on yourself. Obviously, if you want to learn a language, you need to put in the effort, but not to be harsh on yourself. A lot happens subconsciously over time. You have days when you're like, oh my God, I cannot understand anything. How am I going to do? And then the next day you're like, oh wow, I can understand everything. The way the brain works is very strange sometimes. Just understand that you need time. On that note, the next video will probably be about Arabic in Arabic. So if you're learning that language, this might serve as a good listening practice exercise. So do look forward to it. And yeah, I will see you next time. Bye-bye.